They're the biggest, baddest men on the field, but even the hardest forwards have a soft spot. Whether it's collapsing scrums, missed tackles, or getting gassed in open play, each position comes with a hidden flaw. And once you spot it, you'll never watch rugby the same way again. Today we're diving into the forwards edition of our series on positional weaknesses. These are the unsung heroes of the game, the workhorses who do the dirty job so the backs can shine. But every role, no matter how tough or technical, has a crack in the armor. So whether you're a seasoned coach, a weekend warrior, or just here to learn how the big men operate, you're about to find out what makes or breaks every forward on the field. Wearing the number 1. The loose head prop. Kicking things off, this is the guy with the neck like a tree trunk, calves the size of your torso. He's the first to dive into a scrum and loves every minute of it. But here's the kicker. He's the most exposed man in the front row. With one side of his body sticking out, he's vulnerable to being sheared off, spun, turned or folded like a cheap lawn chair. When this happens, the whistle blows and it's a penalty. If his bind slips or his shape collapses, it's game over. The opposition will target him relentlessly, setting up scrum resets just to wear him down and create more penalties. It's a slow death, but it doesn't stop at the scrum. If he's slow to get up from a collapsed set piece, he's a step behind at the ruck. In attack, if he can't keep pace, he gets isolated, like a wounded seal surrounded by sharks. Loose head props are tough, mean, and will throw their body into hell for the team. But if their technique slips, or their tight head opponent has their number, it all falls apart. When that happens, they're not just the first guy in the scrum, they're the first domino to fall. In the number 2 jersey, the hooker, typically found in the center of the scrum between the two props, they're the player who lives in the trenches, doing the dirty work that nobody else wants to do. And while the props may be there to muscle up, it's the hooker who's doing all the real heavy lifting. His job to quite literally hook the ball out of the scrum. Sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things in rugby. It's all about timing, technique, and an insane amount of power in the legs. But despite all the strength and skill it takes to master the hooker's role, there's one glaring weakness that's hard to hide: his tendency to get isolated. This is a huge vulnerability, especially in open play when he's not in the safety of the scrum. Now, the hooker often spends the majority of his time in the middle of a ruck or maul, but when he's left exposed or doesn't have proper support from his teammates, he can quickly get swarmed by the opposition, and this is where things get messy. Unlike other players, the hooker doesn't have a lot of room to escape. His skills are designed for tight spaces, and if he gets isolated too far from the pack, he's in a bad spot. More often than not, he'll be turned over, giving the opposition a great chance to capitalize on a weak ruck. It's not just in the open play either. Lineouts are another area where the hooker can be caught off guard. If he misjudges his throw, it's a disaster. A poor throw can lead to a turnover, or even worse, an easy counterattack for the opposition. The hooker's strength lies in his leadership and his ability to keep the engine running in the forwards. But the moment he's not part of the chain, when he's caught in no man's land, it's a weakness that can be exploited. Completing the front row wearing the number 3, the tight head prop. This is the silent powerhouse of the scrum. If the loose head prop is the one facing the most pressure, the tight head is the one who can often dictate the pace of the contest. Tight head props are built for one thing: to anchor the scrum. They are the stabilizing force, the brick wall that keeps the front row intact. They've got the brute strength to hold their ground, while the loose head gets all the glory and penalties. But even the tight head has his weaknesses. And trust me, they aren't immediately obvious. The tight head is more often than not in a battle of pure power, but it's that very battle that leaves him vulnerable to upper body fatigue. Here's why: because the tight head prop is constantly bearing down with the majority of his weight and strength on his opponent, trying to drive forward while keeping the scrum stable. He's working a muscle group that's under intense strain. After 5 to 10 minutes of constant pressure, his shoulders and neck can begin to wear down. And when that happens, it's an open invitation for the opposing loose head to exploit any cracks in the tight head's technique. Even small shifts in body position, a slightly misaligned foot, or an uneven weight distribution can lead to a quick collapse. And it doesn't stop in the scrum, because the tight head prop is usually the anchor in both the scrum and in mauls. Any misstep or mistake can leave him a step behind. And being slow to react gives the opposition a massive advantage, as they can easily target him in open play. But the tight head's biggest weakness is actually more mental than physical: a lack of finesse. Props aren't generally known for their skill sets in the open field, but the tight head, especially in the modern game, faces the pressure of needing to contribute in multiple ways. A tight head who can't keep up with the pace of the game or can't read situations quickly enough is a liability. He's tough, he's powerful, and he's relentless. But when the tight head's technique falters or he's worn down from the battle, he's vulnerable to losing the scrum, losing the battle, and giving up crucial ground. Wearing the number 4 and 5, the two locks. Now we're stepping into the land of the giants. The locks are two players in the second row who make their living in the air and in the scrum, and they're often the backbone of a forward pack. The locks are the tallest players on the field, with long limbs and a reach that can snatch a ball out of the air like it's nothing. But as dominant as they are, the locks' biggest weakness is a little less visible: their mobility. You'd think that being huge would make them unstoppable, but in reality, their size often works against them, especially in a fast-paced game. While the locks excel in the set piece and the line-out, their size can cause them to struggle when the game breaks open. These guys are built for power, not for rapid movement. When a lock is caught out in the open field, they're not exactly going to be breaking away for a try. If the ball goes wide or a turnover is made, the lock's lack of pace can be exposed. But it's not just about running in open play. The real problem occurs when locks are forced to defend against quicker, more agile players in tight situations. While they're incredibly strong in the tackle, they don't have the same lateral movement as some of the smaller, quicker players on the field. That lack of quickness can lead to missed tackles, allowing the opposition to break through the defensive line. And once that happens, the locks are usually too slow to recover in time. It's not uncommon to see a lock trailing behind, unable to make a play when the game is speeding up. But it's not all doom and gloom. When they're in their element, whether in the line-out or in the scrum, locks are practically unstoppable. They bring power, strength, and a level of dominance that's hard to match. But when they're pulled out of their comfort zone, their lack of agility can be their downfall. The blindside flanker wearing the number 6. The silent enforcer of the back row, the player who's often tasked with the gritty, hard-nosed work that doesn't always make the highlight reel, but makes no mistake. His job is essential to the team's success. Wearing number 6, the blindside is typically the most physical player in the back row. He's not just in charge of tackling everything in sight, but he's also expected to disrupt the opposition's ball at the breakdown, carry the ball upfield, and provide the grunt work in scrums. But here's the thing, as dominant as they are, blindside flankers face a pretty significant weakness that often flies under the radar: overcommitting to the physical battle. In theory, this guy is the perfect machine. He's fast, he's tough, and he'll meet you head-on in a collision like no one else. But sometimes, in the heat of the moment, he gets so caught up in the physicality of the game that he can overcommit to the tackle, leaving him vulnerable. What happens then? Well, if he's caught out of position, trying to land a big hit, he opens up the space behind him. If the opposition manages to get past that first wave of defense, there's no one left to cover. This is especially critical at the breakdown. The blindside is expected to be everywhere, disrupting rucks, getting to tackles first, covering the wider channels. If he's not careful, overexerting himself in one area leaves him exposed in another. But the real danger comes when the opposition realizes they can pull him out of position with smart ball movement. If a team shifts the ball quickly from one side of the field to the other, they can often drag the blindside flanker out of position. With his focus so entrenched in dominating the collision, he can end up out of place, leaving huge gaps in the defense. He's a workhorse, but he has to pick his moments. It's all about timing and discipline, knowing when to go all in and when to hang back and read the game. Too much overcommitment, and the blindside is left chasing shadows. With a number 7 on his back, the open side flanker, arguably one of the most vital players in modern rugby. Open side flankers are scavengers, the ones who thrive in the chaos, always around the ball, always in the right place at the right time. Wearing the number 7, they're the ones tasked with stealing the ball at the breakdown, slowing down the opposition's momentum, and generally being a thorn in their side for 80 minutes. But with all that responsibility, there's a glaring weakness weakness that could cost a team in key moments: over-reliance on breakdown turnovers. Now don't get me wrong, the open side is exceptional at getting to the breakdown and pilfering possession, often creating turnovers that can shift the game. But the problem arises when the open side flanker becomes too focused on this one aspect of his role. If an open side is constantly gunning for that turnover, trying to get under the ball carrier's arms and rip the ball free, they run the risk of getting caught on the wrong side of the ruck or maul. If the opposition manages to secure their own ball or reset the ruck quickly, the open side can be left on the ground, isolated, with no real support. That means they've given up ground and they're slow to get up and contest again. If an open side doesn't win the ball, he's now vulnerable because he's far from the breakdown and the opposition has the space to counter. But that's not all. The open side flanker also has a natural tendency to play right on the edge. He's often the smallest forward on the field, meaning he's got to use his speed, agility and smarts to get in and out of tackles, over the ball and to the breakdown. When things get frantic and he's operating in tight spaces, it's easy for an open side to get caught in awkward positions, especially if he's trying to win a turnover against bigger players. In the heat of the moment, this could lead to a high tackle or a penalty at the breakdown, something that coaches absolutely despise. The open side's specialty is his ability to disrupt, but when his focus narrows too much on turnovers, he can leave himself and his team vulnerable to quick ball movement and fast counterattacks. It's all about balance, and that's the challenge. Rounding off the forwards, the number 8, the powerhouse at the back of the scrum, often the player who sets the tone for the forward pack. He's the one who's both a battering ram and a soft hand specialist, carrying the ball with force while also setting up backs for a clean break. Wearing the number 8 jersey, he plays a key role in the scrum, often controlling the ball at the base and ensuring that the team's platform stays strong. In open play, he's one of the most dynamic forwards, linking up with the backs and always being in support for a quick break. But here's the problem. With all that power, skill and responsibility, the number 8 is often caught in the middle. In the scrum, he's the link between the forwards and backs, but when the ball comes out, he's often expected to make decisions under pressure, sometimes in tight spaces, sometimes on the fly. While most back row forwards are masters of defending and carrying, the number 8 must also have the skills to read the game in an instant. The real weakness here comes when the number 8 fails to stay connected with the game. If he's too focused on his role in the scrum or gets carried away with running through defenders, he can lose track of the tempo. On top of that, the number 8 is often tasked with the tough physical work of clearing out rucks, protecting the ball and getting it to the right place. But if he's not careful, he's going to run out of energy fast. Lack of fitness or endurance can turn him into a liability when the pace picks up, particularly late in the game. The number 8's strength lies in his ability to carry and link the forwards to the backs. But if he's too slow to react, too focused on power, or too fatigued to contribute at the breakdown, he becomes a target for fast counterattacks or missed opportunities. So there you have it. 8 positions, 8 weaknesses, and a whole lot of insight into what really goes on in the engine room. Now let's be clear, every forward on this list is vital to a team's success. But when the pressure hits, it's those small flaws that can change a game. If you learned something new, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and stick around because in the next video we're tackling the backs. And trust me, their weaknesses are even juicier. Until then, keep your bind tight, your head up, and never underestimate the breakdown. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Rugby Decoded.